Hello, this is a quick training on how schools can make the transition to remote learning. Some people prefer to look at it as online learning or e-learning, but I'm using the term remote learning because what we're going to be discussing is how students and teachers, or pupils and teachers, can connect when they are not in the same location. Okay, if we say e-learning or online learning, that can still happen in the classroom, or it can still happen when they are together. It's just a matter of using electronic tools and then maybe connecting the internet and all of that. But when it is remote, the term remote shows that they are not in the same location. Okay, they're not in the same place. My name is Philip Amiola. I am Director of Strategy at the Plenipotent Company Limited, and I'll be taking you through the tools and resources that can easily help you make the transition, while also offering some practical recommendations as we go along. Okay, to put this in context, in case you are watching this or listening to it much later, the world is currently battling a global crisis called the coronavirus pandemic. So a lot of measures have been put in place to limit or control the spread of the virus, and one of the measures is social distancing, which I prefer to call physical distancing, because we're still connected socially. At least we're using social media, and right now you are listening to this video, so it shows that we're connecting. Okay, at least we're talking, we're communicating. There's still a form of social connection, and that is very necessary. But what we're saying is that people should not be physically close, okay, to one another. So that is more of physical distancing, really, even though they call it social distancing. So because of that, schools have been closed. Other places where people congregate have been closed. So it is important that we find ways to connect outside the four walls of the classroom, and that is why we are doing this. Some of the basic considerations, some of the things that we need to think about before we even choose how we want to go about the remote learning are power and internet access. Okay, you need to be sure that you have good internet access, or at least know the kind of internet access that is available in your location. Okay, because most of the tools that we're going to use, practically all of the tools that we're going to use are going to need good internet access. Power will also be very important. We need to find a way around that. Maybe there will be provision for alternative power supply. Okay, and that is one of the reasons that it's also helpful to pick platforms that allow students and teachers to engage through their phones, because it's relatively easier to keep the phone charged. It's relatively easier to charge phones, than it is to charge laptops. For example, at least people have power banks and all of that, so they can still get their smartphones charged, even if there isn't regular power supply. So that's one of the first considerations: power and internet access. Then content creation. What's the capacity that the team has for creating content? For example, are you able to create video content, or do you only have capacity to create your content in textual formats? Would you prefer to do audio content? So you need to look at the kind of content that you have the capacity to create, and at the same time that will be relevant and easily accessible to the students. Okay, so that's another consideration. We're going to say more about that. Then available devices. What kind of devices do these teachers and students have? That is also important. Now, it's not the time to start saying that we want to buy new laptops and all of that. That is not necessarily the point. The point is to look at the devices that are available and see how you can make the most of them. But then, if those devices are not even now available at all, for example, if there is no smartphone, maybe the students and their parents don't have smartphones, or the teachers don't have smartphones, then one may need to invest in that. and it's advisable to get a smartphone with at least 2 gigabytes of RAM, okay, where possible. It's advisable. Then or if it's a laptop, at least 4 gigabytes of RAM for a laptop, preferably higher. Okay, so that is another important consideration. Then how do you want to get parents involved? Because with remote learning, now that the students and pupils are not in the classroom where the teachers can see them physically and maybe ensure that they do what they need to do, and generally monitor their work. Okay, it is important to keep the parents involved and to carry them along, okay, because they are the ones that will fill in many of the roles that the teachers might have ordinarily played in the classroom. And finally, this is not an exhaustive list, but at least it will give you the basic things that we need to think about before we even get started. Coordination and administration. How do we intend to coordinate and administer the entire process? Okay, when it's the normal situation where everyone is in school, it's easy to submit lesson notes, okay, and then go to the classroom, there is a timetable, all of those things. How do we want to transit from that and then replicate the same kind of system in this remote learning arrangement? Okay, we're going to talk more about that too, but for now, let me just mention that the simpler the better. If the coordination and administration process is complex or difficult, then it may not work. It may cause lots of confusions, and people may not even be able to work with it. So let's keep things simple, and we're going to get to it. So what are some of the platforms that can be used for remote learning? There are lots of them. There are a lot of platforms, but I have identified these ones that are very popular and which anybody can easily get started with. We have Edmodo, we have Google Classroom, we have Zoom, we have Mixler. Then you can have your own custom LMS. That means you can build your learning management system. You can build a learning management system specifically for your school. And then we have Telegram. I'm going to explain each of these a bit, but let me start with Telegram. Telegram is not essentially a platform for remote learning. It's for communication. I included it here for the coordination and administration aspect that I talked about earlier. So you can have a Telegram group where all the students will be and all the teachers, everyone will be there, so that you can easily post updates. And if necessary, you can now have maybe groups or channels for different classes, or maybe a separate group for teachers where maybe teachers can upload their lesson notes there. And I'm saying Telegram because Telegram is relatively easy to work with. It works like WhatsApp, and almost everybody uses WhatsApp, but Telegram is more advanced than WhatsApp in terms of the functionality, but in terms of ease of use, it is as easy to use as WhatsApp. Okay, however, it allows a lot of other capabilities. You can use Telegram on your laptop, for example. You can access your Telegram account from multiple devices. You can more easily upload files, and the limits are higher. The file limits are much higher. Also, with WhatsApp, on a WhatsApp group, you can only have, I think, a maximum of 250, but on Telegram, you can take many more members. So the Telegram is not essentially for the remote learning per se. It is to facilitate the coordination and administration aspect. For example, you can post the timetables there. You can post the access links to each of the lessons on that Telegram group or channel, whichever one is being used. Okay, so that is what that is for. Then these other platforms, let's just take a look. Okay, we're going to just take a look at some of them. Okay, so let's check Edmodo. This is what Edmodo looks like. You can access it on your laptop by going to edmodo.com. They also have a mobile app that you can download from your app store on your smartphone. So this is what it looks like. So they even have a toolkit right now for helping schools to implement distance learning. Okay, you are going to find the link to that in the resources too, but once you go to Edmodo okay, you can access it there. So it is a platform that lots of schools are already using. Even before the pandemic, lots of schools have adopted this from different levels, from kindergarten to university level. So once you sign up, you can sign up as a teacher, sign up as students, and sign up as parents, okay, and then there are resources for schools. So it is a platform that kind of carries everybody along. When students sign in and work, their parents are notified. If a student is signing up, the student will be asked to provide the email address or phone number of the parent, okay? So you can sign up as teacher, teachers will sign up as teachers, students will sign up as students, and then they can log in and access lessons that have been created by the teachers. They can also submit their assignments, okay, through this platform. It is specifically built, it's a custom built platform for online learning, unlike some of the tools we're going to consider that are not exactly for online learning or for remote learning, but we are adapting them. This is designed specifically to achieve that. It's specifically designed for learning, okay? Platforms like Zoom, which we're going to talk about, okay, maybe we should go to that next. You can access Zoom by going to zoom.us. They also have a mobile app that you can access on your Play Store. Zoom is free to start. Okay, I should also mention that Edmodo is free. They have some premium options, but they are usually not necessary for most people. Most people will not need the premium options for Edmodo, so you also get to use it for free. Then with Zoom, it's also free. I just clicked on plans and pricing now, and then they have a free option that you can have up to 100 participants. And if you now need some more features, you can sign up for the paid version, which is like $15 per month. Okay, $15 per month, and that gives you unlimited meeting duration. It gives you unlimited duration. For the free platform, you can have a video call, or you can have a meeting, an online meeting, for up to 40 minutes. Okay, so there is a 40-minute limit. Now, Zoom is originally meant for meetings. It's meant for, okay, you want to have video calls with people, video conferencing, especially for businesses. But with what is currently happening, schools are also beginning to adopt that as one of the ways through which they can do remote learning. Okay, so that is another option. Then we have Mixlr, that's Mixlr, mixlr.com. Okay, so that is another platform. Just like the others that we have mentioned, they also have a mobile app, and you can integrate it onto the school website. So once one signs up, once you sign up, okay, you can broadcast just like the same way people will listen to radio. You can share a link, you can broadcast, and then you share your own link, and people can listen to what you are saying. So what we're going to do with Mixlr is we set up an account, and then we create a link, and that link can now be shared with the students, or it can be embedded on the school website, which the link for the embedded page will also now be shared with the students. So all they need to do is to visit that link, and once they have downloaded Mixlr app on their phone, once they visit that link, the Mixlr app will open. And if they don't have Mixlr app on their phone, they can also listen to it in their web browser, or they can simply install the Mixlr app since it's free anyway. So it's just a matter of now having the timetable, and you can even decide to have, each teacher have their own, or maybe each department or each subject, they have their own Mixlr link. You can decide on that. It all depends on how you decide to handle the coordination and administration aspect. But the summary of what I'm saying is that you can set up a Mixlr account, and just like Zoom, the difference is that with Zoom it's video, but with Mixlr it is audio. So you create a link, and then as you are talking, you can even use recorded teachings. You can record the teachings in advance and then play it and broadcast it, or teachers can actually hold their phone, or they can do it on their laptop, and then they are speaking. So as they are speaking, once they are connected to the internet, and then they have started the broadcast on the app, as they are speaking, anybody that visits the link that they share, okay, the link for that account, anybody that visits that link will hear what they are saying. Okay, so it's just like radio. Okay, so it's audio for audio broadcast. Okay, also with Mixler you can start for free, but if you click on the pricing, you will see that they have other options if you want advanced functionality. But I always advise that start with the free plan until you now need premium features. But as it is now, most people or most schools can actually get started without the premium feature or without the premium features. Okay, so that's the third platform. We've covered Edmodo, we've covered Zoom, and then we've covered Mixler. Then we have Google Classroom. We have Google Classroom. Google Classroom is part of Google for Education. Okay, Google for Education, and it is actually advisable for teachers to start here, teachercenter.withgoogle.com. Okay, so to start here and then take relevant training, understand how Google for Education works, and then that will prepare them, it will make them better prepared to understand Google Classroom and then be able to use it. Okay, again, this is also something that you can get started with for free, and they also have mobile apps. And if you click on the resources here, you are going to find lots of helpful materials. Okay, so getting started, so how do you get started? Then lots of other resources that will be helpful. So those are the main platforms. Okay, there are several others, but these are some that you can start with. Then you can build your own custom online learning platform, and then have students log in and all of that, but that would be more capital intensive, and it may not be necessary now. It can be part of a long-term plan, but it may not be necessary right now because it will require quite some investment, and it may be a bit disruptive at this time. Okay, so those are the options of the platforms that can be considered. Then I have included a list of resources here, a list of resources that you will find helpful. Okay, if you go to these links, you can find more materials that will be very helpful, and just type the links as they are into your web browser. You don't need to put www at the beginning. If you are going to put anything, you can put http:// but it's not even necessary. Just type these links into the web browser as they are. go.edmodo.com/distance learning, no space. Then teachercenter.withgoogle.com, teachercenter.withgoogle.com, then teachfromhome.google, then virtualmentor.com.ng/courses/e-learning basic. There is an hyphen between e-learning and basic. virtualmentor.com.ng/courses/e-learning-basic. And I would advise that if resources are a concern, if you don't have like lots of disposable resources, and even if the resources are there, it's always better to conserve resources and to use simple solutions that work. So I will advise that you start with virtualmentor.com.ng/courses/e-learning-basic. That link, the last link, okay, on the video. Okay, so this number 4 under resources, I would advise that you start with that, because with that you can use only Google Drive, just Google Drive, okay, to carry out remote learning, and it can even be used to create assignments and quiz, tests that students can take and then submit, and the teacher gets it. It's quite easy to follow through. The lessons are detailed step by step, and a number of people are even using it already, and they have given some feedback, okay, on it. So if there is need for further clarification, I'll be available for that. But I think this is very simple. It's like the simplest alternative. It may not have all the bells and whistles and all the functionalities because you are simply using Google Drive. Okay, Google Drive is not specifically made for remote learning, but it's just a matter of how you can use the tools that are available to you. And it's always better to keep things simple and to start with something that is easily accessible to everyone. Okay, so those are the options that can be explored, and these are also resources that will help to get started. A few recommendations before we close. I would advise that you focus on the desired outcomes, not technology. Sometimes you can be attracted to, and maybe because some of these, in fact, all of these platforms that I just mentioned, all of them, you can get started with them for free. Now, maybe you might now find somebody that, maybe just for business reasons, is recommending a solution to you and saying, oh, we can build this for you, we can build that for you, and all of that, and then you are impressed. And because you have the money, and then you feel like, oh, this is superior technology and all of that, and then you go for it. It may not be advisable. Sometimes superior technology may not actually be in your best interest. It may not actually be what you need. Okay, for example, now if we're looking at maybe a Porsche car, okay, and you are looking at maybe Honda Odyssey, and then, or let's even say what's this long car? Okay, limousine. Yes, let's say you are looking at a limousine and then Honda Odyssey, or maybe Toyota Highlander. Let's compare limousine and Toyota Highlander. Limousine is is more expensive, the technology is higher and all of that than Honda Odyssey. Okay, but you cannot use a limousine for everyday runs. Maybe you want to take your children to school, for example. Let's assume all of this is over. You want to take your children to school and things like that. You can't be using a limousine for that. Limousine has its own purpose. Okay, even though it is the technology is attractive and all of that, okay, it has its own purpose, and it may not be suitable for someone that is doing maybe even cab service and all of that. So what I'm saying is that it is not about the technology, it is about what you can achieve with it. So what can we achieve, and what are we looking to achieve? So can we do those things? Can we get those things done with simple tools and simple platforms, and maybe for free or at little or no cost? If we can achieve that, great. Okay, so it's not about looking for the latest technology and the most complex or most advanced platforms. Okay, then that also covers the second point I was going to say, that we should deploy the simplest and most efficient tools. Okay, for example, which tools will save us data, which tools will be easier for the students to access. Okay, all of these are important. From the school's perspective, the school may be able to take care of the things that are necessary, but will the students also be able to, depending on the kind of school, sometimes it's difficult for some students to even pay their school fees, not now talk of, okay, they now have to invest in data. Some of them may not have smartphones and they now have to buy smartphones. So if you use a platform that is very complex and that takes a lot of data, it may not be very practical for the students. It is also important to get frequent feedback on effectiveness. Okay, there should be frequent feedback. You can maybe have a questionnaire where they fill the questionnaire, or maybe you can just do a simple poll, or you can just ask, okay, so how are you finding it? What are you enjoying about it? What are you finding difficult? What do you think can be better? Okay, so that will help to keep improving and optimize the entire process for better results. And finally, I would advise that we should see what is happening as an opportunity to develop a long-term strategy for remote learning. And it's a whole new field that can open, a whole new field of opportunities that can open access to things that we did not even think about before. Okay, so let us see this as an opportunity to start developing a strategy for that. Right now, making the transition is not something that you can do immediately. Okay, so it's not something that you can just right away, you have all the systems in place. No, but what I will recommend is that start with what you have, start with some of these simple tools that I have mentioned, and then while at that, let us start working on a long-term strategy. There could be maybe a small committee, maybe a committee of 3 or 4 teachers and maybe an administrative staff, but maybe you can set up a small team to look into this over the long term, such that subsequently, even without the need for physical distancing and all of that, if you choose to set up or to implement a remote learning program, it will not be difficult. It will be already part of what the school has developed capacity for. Okay, so that is one very important thing that we should be looking at now. So what exactly is the next step? What should we do right away or right now? What are some of the specific things we can do right now? So what I'm going to say is I would advise that at least start with Mixler, because Mixler is easy to use and then it doesn't take as much data and it is audio. So the same way teachers will teach in the classroom, they will speak on the Mixler app, they will speak and then share the link ahead of time. They would have shared the link of the Mixler ahead of time with the students, and they just speak, and as they are speaking, the students will be connected and they can listen. So you can also submit assignments through Google Drive, and you can record videos like this. Teachers can record videos like this for their teachings, upload the videos to YouTube as unlisted video. Unlisted means that people will not see it except to send them the link. So it's not it's not public. Okay, so upload it to YouTube and then share the link with students, and students can watch the videos and take the lessons. We have lessons on virtualmentor.com.ng that show how you can create videos like this one that I created. And for students, or maybe for younger pupils, you may want to make it more attractive, put pictures and all of that, illustrations. It's all possible. So that is one thing that we can do. So to summarize again, we can start by doing live audio broadcast on Mixler, and then we can also record videos like this, upload to YouTube, share the links with students and let them learn. And then there is a Telegram platform. There should be a Telegram platform. Telegram is better than WhatsApp in many ways, and it's also very easy to use, just like WhatsApp. So a Telegram platform where they can now post updates, there can be interaction and all of that. So I believe that with this, it's going to be a good start. And the lesson I shared earlier or the course I shared earlier is a short course on how you can use Google Drive for e-learning. That is also something that we can start with. So after exploring those ones, after using those ones, we can now begin to study all these other options and later migrate to the one that we find most suitable. I hope that you got some practical insights from that and things that we can begin to implement. Let me know what you think, and if you have any questions, you can reach me by email, or you can send email to my team, mail@plenipotent.com.ng. You can connect with us on social media at Plenipotent School, and you can also call us. You can put a phone call through. Okay, so I will be happy to help personally, and my team will also be on ground to provide additional support.